The GWM Ute Cannon-XSR needs a new name like I need more follicles on the back of my noggin. It sounds like a camera more than a dual cab ute. Question is, does this cheap tough truck live up to its exterior promise? Have your say in the comments below. I want to know what you think. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. The GWM Ute Cannon-XSR joins a half dozen other popular tough trucks that feature a bunch of factory-fitted off-road upgrades, all of which are backed by a strong factory warranty, something you don't get when you start modding with aftermarket bits. Indeed, the Cannon-XSR is a mud plugger on a budget that promises to deliver big things for a relatively small amount of money. Priced at under 53k drive away, the XSR, as I'm going to call it from now on, commands a $6,000 premium over lesser GWM models. But it's way cheaper than tough trucks like the Toyota Hilux GR Sport and Ford Ranger Wildtrak X, which hike the price another $20,000. It's not hard to see why these rock-crushing off-road utes are so popular when they're backed by solid factory warranties, and in the case of the XSR, it's one of the strongest on the market. Annual service costs are pretty low, but the 10,000 kilometre intervals are far from class leading. Based on the bog standard GWM Ute Cannon, the XSR gets several upgrades that should add meaningful off-road performance, including a snorkel, sports bar, steel bumpers front and rear, side steps, underbody chassis protection, and 18-inch alloy wheels shod with Cooper Discovery AT3 all-terrain tyres. Ground clearance rises from 194mm in the regular models to 228mm in this model, thanks in part to those chunky new tyres. And that's a good improvement, but compared to models like the Toyota Hilux GR Sport and Nissan Navara Warrior, it's still way off the pace. A number of black pack add-ons like the over fenders, roof rails and front grille add a bit more eye candy. And you get disc brakes all round, not rear drum brakes like some dual cab utes. If you are hoping for engine upgrades, you're going to be bitterly disappointed because this bush basher gets the same old 2-litre turbo diesel donk found in lesser models. With underwhelming power and torque, it's definitely an opportunity missed for this model, although the 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox should be pretty good and hopefully makes the most of what's on offer. Unlike other GWM models, including the regular Cannon, this one misses out on the clever Borg-Warner full-time 4x4 system, which allows you to run all-wheel drive on sealed roads. Instead, the XSR gets a twin diff system with rear-wheel drive high range for on-road driving, 4x4 high for dirt road driving, and 4x4 low for serious off-roading. Like most 4x4 dual cab utes, this one gets a locking rear diff. However, it also comes with a locking front diff, which is quite rare in the ute segment. Only the Jeep Gladiator and Ford Ranger Raptor can match it in that respect. The XSR certainly doesn't have the best ute interior I've ever sat in, but it is roomy, relatively comfortable, has ample tech, and doesn't look like a dog's breakfast. It's quite well presented. The power-operated and heated front seats look great with diamond stitching, and while the synthetic leather is more durable than supple, overall seat comfort is good. Most materials have an upmarket tactility, and it certainly doesn't feel cheap in here. A sunroof fitted as standard is a nice touch too. Storage solutions ain't bad. You've got twin cup holders, a big one and a little one, plus this little shelf here that slides, good for your odds and sods. The central bin, average sized. I like the fact you've got a wireless phone charger, that's pretty cool. Plus you've got the 12-volt socket, twin USB-A ports, but no fast charging USB-C. And the door pockets, not too bad. The jumbo drink bottle challenge, it just fits. The 9-inch central touchscreen looks pretty good. It's got a high resolution, but it feels a little bit slow to react at times, and sometimes you really got to push the buttons to make it work. But it does have a lot of settings. You can tweak a lot of the car systems in here, which I like. I also like the fact you've got physical controls for the temperature and the volume. That's good. And over the past 2 years, they have really improved many systems. Open the windows. Opening. That's pretty cool. There's no head-up display or sat-nav, but it still feels modern, and for $53K, it's very well equipped compared to similarly priced dual-cab utes. The digital driver's display is on the smaller side at 7 inches, but the visuals are sharp and clear, if a little small, and there's 3 different themes and plenty of options to fiddle around with. The parking camera systems in this ute are pretty good. You've got clear front and rear cameras, and it's also got front and rear parking sensors as well. Unlike most of the GWM Ute range, the XSR misses out on a 5-star ANCAP safety rating for now. It was yet to be tested at the time of filming, but it does come with a fair whack of safety features, including traffic sign recognition and LED headlights. Backseat comfort is pretty good, and there's reasonable room. I've got plenty of leg room. I can get my feet right under the seats here. This section here is sort of scooped out, so there's a bit of headroom, but I think the car's bouncing around, I'm probably going to boof my head up there. Amenity, pretty good too. You've got the fold-out armrest. There's a power point down here, a USB-C port, and the usual ISOFIX and top tether child seat anchorage point. The GWM has one of the most versatile back seats I've seen, with 60/40 split folding seat backs that also fold up into the rear bulkhead, creating a large storage space for equipment, gear or tools that's secure and weatherproof. There's a few tricks around the back which I like. You've got the step here like the Ford Ranger. The tailgate is damped with struts, and it's also got this really cool fold out step. So if you've got gammy legs like me, climbing up into the back is a whole lot easier. However, one thing it's missing is a locking rear tailgate. It's a bit of a bummer there. It features a spray-in tub liner to protect the tray when large objects are moving around, but isn't wide enough to fit an 1165mm Aussie pallet between the rear wheels. You get a full-size spare tyre underslung, and there's also twin tow points in the rear bumper. Well, so far so good for this Chinese chariot, but can it keep it up on and off the road? Cue the driving music. The XSR is satisfactory rather than good to drive, and I think it would definitely benefit from some local tuning to improve its on-road manners. It starts with the powertrain, which is best described as underwhelming. It lacks the power and torque of its rivals, and this in turn hampers its drivability. Turbo lag and average torque make it all feel a bit lethargic. Driving dynamics are also behind the 8 ball. The steering feels light and fidgety on the open road, although it is a bit better in urban areas, and the suspension feels barely changed from its donor car, so it's just a bit ponderous through corners. Ride comfort is likewise average, the rigid leaf springs jostling and jumping the rear end around like a pogo stick on rougher roads. These issues could be partially remedied with recalibrated dampers, and while they're not deal breakers for me, most other utes do it better. Refinement levels are not great either. Look, it's a relaxed ute on the freeway and the open road when you're cruising, but when the engine's strained, it does intrude into the cabin quite a bit, gets pretty noisy, plus those big all-terrain tyres. They generate more tyre roar, and there's a fair bit of wind noise coming off the mirrors and A-pillar as well. Fuel economy has been relatively good so far at 10.3 litres per 100 kilometres, but that's partly because the XSR tends to hold gears as long as possible before changing down. Great for economy, not so good if you're keen to maintain speed uphill. It's definitely no match for the league leaders on the road, but what about off-road? It's time to get dirty. The extra ground clearance and underbody protection add confidence, which is bolstered by the Cooper tyres, which generate much better grip than regular GWM utes. It feels much more at home on these bush tracks and is scrabbling up and down these tricky passes more easily than a lot of utes I've tested here. While it lacks the ground clearance of other more expensive tough trucks, and has a plenty long wheelbase, it's doing a lot better than expected. The fact that you can lock the rear and front diffs simultaneously is super handy. It ensures maximum grip because all four wheels are essentially rotating at the same speed, virtually eradicating wheel spin. It's very confidence inspiring on the tricky stuff. Overall, the XSR represents pretty good value for money, and only its lack of ground clearance will stop it off-road, the twin lockers making it a seriously capable mud plugger. Together with a 7-year warranty, an impressive equipment list, and some clever little features, the XSR does a lot of things right. But ultimately, this cheap tough truck is a case of style over substance. Those crude on-road dynamics and underwhelming powertrain seeing it snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Thanks for watching, hope you liked the vid. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell us what you think in the comments. Does this vehicle need a name change? And maybe a new set of dampers?